ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
Welcome in. It is the Friday, April 1st edition. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We are going to take your phone calls this hour. 877-420-TALK. That's 877-420-8255. Our phone lines brought to you by White Claw Hard Seltzer. It is made pure. Our text line is also open this hour. 304-523-2275. That's 304-523-2275. And, of course, I'm on Twitter. You can find me at Paul Swann. We got a lot to get into today. Thundering Herd on the field, defeating Charlotte today. Did I read that right? 11-4? Pretty good day for the Thundering Herd. So Megan Smith-Lyon on the program yesterday. Today gets the victory, 11-4. So Chris Grassie is going to be on the show today. Tomorrow, taking on Ohio State. Will there be a win? We're going to start charting that, but I think so. You come on the show, you get a win. Of course, watch us try to do that, get Coach Huff in here in person every week, and then football goes 6-6. That'll blow that out completely. Okay, now, before we continue, I'm not saying Marshall's going 6-6. That'll be on the message boards and Twitter here in 30 seconds. Swann saying we're going to go 6-6. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Let's just be careful here. Let's not go there. So how you guys doing? Got the weekend coming up. We've got, of course, some opportunities for you to go support the soccer team, opportunities to support tennis, some opportunities, of course, to go support softball. The men are on the road. And baseball, so you don't have a chance there, but plenty of opportunities for you to go out and maybe if you got an afternoon free, you can go out to softball tomorrow or Sunday. You can go out after church, or if you've got something going on before, you can go out a little after that. So plenty of opportunities. I mean, the weather, it's schizophrenic today. I drove in and it was snowing and sleeting, and it's now pretty nice looking outside. Feels pretty good as well. So crazy weather here we're having today here in the greater Huntington metropolitan area. But hopefully that will hold, and we've got plenty of opportunity to go and support their herd. And, of course, you know, all this doesn't matter because the Marshall football team's practicing indoors. Thundering Herd knowing that it's kind of crazy weather out there right now. I think eventually we'll see more of the herd outdoors again because I think with a focus on maybe getting them an outdoor field or two, you can mix that up a little bit better. I remember years ago when Mark Snyder and Rich Rodriguez were speaking midfield, talking to each other and, you know, talking about some of the things, talking about the turf and talking about the fact that, hey, I just have one, I practice right here. This is for the indoor was even a dream, a reality of a dream. I mean, wouldn't it be great? You could go out and practice on the grass. I mean, Coach Huff kind of talked about that a little bit last year before the season started. I believe he was talking to the Board of Governors. Like, it felt, hey, you know, we could really use maybe a practice field, a grass practice field, not just practice on turf. Have an opportunity to go out and practice on grass as well as turf. So, you know, maybe that's kind of something we're going to see here in the future. I know Coach Huff was talking about space. I think they just want to figure out, you know, how to better use their space in the indoor practice facility. I don't know what they could possibly come up with to, you know, rearrange a few things, but I'm sure that's somewhere in someone's notebook right now. Hey, here's some ideas, and I think the outdoor practice fields would be great. I mean, maybe you have a sort of you see a lot of these universities, hey, this is our indoor practice field, and it looks like a beautiful giant canopy over a field, which technically I guess it's indoors. You get a roof, maybe it's indoors. It's open air. It's indoors and open air, but you know, maybe Marshall could have something like that, maybe an outside practice space, maybe with a canopy. I don't know. You can find some ways to really do some nice things here. You could have a nice outdoor space as well to do some events when not in use. Of course, maintaining grass fields takes people, takes experts. You got to have the right prescription grass. You got to have the right mix of water, and you got to have the right mix of fertilizer, and you got to go out there and cut it to a certain length, and you got to make sure the surface is level or however you like it. And there are people who make lots of money in Major League Baseball, for example, taking care of the grass. So that would be cool, though. I know we deviated just a little bit, got into talking about practice facility. The grass field, though, those are going to happen after we get the world's largest college football scoreboard. That's the fields come after the scoreboard. I'm still curious to see what ultimately happens once the temporary, I still think they're temporary. They look temporary. The metal bleachers, I hate them. I just flat out hate them. When those go up, I'm going to be there, hopefully, swinging a hammer, knocking some of that stuff down. Let me be operating the crane or whatever. I want to take a shot at those things. I have not liked those day one. I've not liked those. So when Christian Spears said, yeah, hey, we want to take those out, do some things over there, I'm like, yes, you've been listening to people talk about me, and they know that's on my win-win list. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But, could you have some luxury suites over there? Could you have, the party deck, the scoreboard, maybe have some luxury suites, do something like Southern Miss's end zone? That would be cool. I think that would be really attractive to see what they come up with, what they maybe put together. And I think you're going to see here in the next few years, you're going to see the facilities get a nice refresh, because Southern Miss is going to be updating facilities. Charlotte's going to be updating facilities when it goes into the American. UAB is going to be trying to keep their facilities fresh when it goes into the American. And Southern Miss going into the Sun Belt with Marshall. Old Dominion's going to try to keep facilities fresh. So Marshall's got to keep things fresh. I mean, the Shuey got some really nice work inside, and hopefully you can see more happen there. So these are some things that are really going to be coming up. And, of course, I think practice fields would be great as well. Has to practice fields for everybody. All right, I'm spending a lot of money. Grass, that's going to be something on the pitch for Marshall soccer. Grass. Chris Grassie, who is fond of grass fields, he joins us on the other side of the break. We're going to talk to him about Marshall taking on Ohio State. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about the World Cup draw. Ryan Sirk is not here today, so we're going to talk soccer, his favorite topic. Jaden is here, Jaden Taylor, whose favorite subject is not soccer, and we're going to talk about that. So, I'm not sure we're going to talk NBA. That's his favorite subject. I know that. But we are going to talk soccer. So Chris Grassie coming up on the other side of the break. We'll get your phone calls and texts in as well. We'll talk a little bit about the transfer portal. I do want to mention, and we'll get your comments on it. I already got some people commenting on Twitter. Savannah Wheeler posting something on Twitter today. She was wearing number 4. They just happened to have a number 4 in her size. Number 4, Middle Tennessee State University basketball jersey, and she was sporting that. So she's staying in Conference USA, it looks like. Again, the words, I am committed to Middle Tennessee, not uttered from her, but, the photos with her sporting the jersey, that's almost good enough for me. Chris Grassie on the other side of the break. This is The Drive at ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
Welcome back to the Friday, April 1st edition. It's The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I know it's April Fool's Day, but we're not going to do any of that, especially with our next guest. I want to welcome to the program now. He is the head coach of the Marshall men's soccer program, Chris Grassie. And I know that the stipulation was that Ryan Sirk was not to be here today if he would make an appearance. He is not here, Coach, so your stipulation has been honored.
Oh, I appreciate that. What a pain he is. I mean, I can't believe you put me through that, so I'm happy you got rid of him. Just kidding.
No, you're not kidding. He is a pain. What are you talking about? He is a pain. No, he's a good guy. You did well on him. So we got a big match to talk about. Marshall taking on Ohio State, and Yeah, I'll ask you this: is it a bigger deal that Ohio State is playing Marshall, or that Marshall's playing Ohio State? How does that work as far as the dynamic there? Because I would think that Ohio State coming to Huntington, it's a bigger deal for them to get to play you.
I'd agree with that. No, I wouldn't want to give them any ammunition before the game, but I would say, obviously with us being, recent national champions and having a lot more success recently, I feel like we're, for them, they're going to come, playing a better program, I guess, for what over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So I think it'll be a bigger game for them. But they're obviously a very well-funded team and from a big university. So I think if it was other sports, it would be the other way around maybe. But for us, I think we have to take this game and looking at it as a game we should win.
You mentioned they're better funded. That would be something that would be nice for you to always have enough funding to do everything you want to do. But what is it? What do you think maybe the difference here is? Because I would think that a program that could just throw a lot of money at something would be ultimately successful. But as you mentioned, you've got the better track record in history right now. Is soccer? Is it fair to say, if you're properly funded, it doesn't matter if a school comes in that's bigger? There's always a chance for a school like Marshall to be, as we've seen, competitive and win a national championship. Doesn't matter university size or funding.
How long is this show?
You got as much time as you need, but if you need 20 or 30, we can take it.
There's tons of issues that go into that. I think one of the things in our sport is we have an equivalency. So we're not a head count sport like football or basketball where it's a full ride or nothing. We have an equivalency. We're an equivalency sport, which means for scholarships, we have 9.9 scholarships that you can divide across the entire group of players sort of in any one given year. So, that's through your seniors, your juniors, and all of that. So kind of balancing that money in terms of resource management is one of the hugest factors in teams being successful and definitely in our success. And the other thing that comes into play, for the bigger schools is I'm just going to put in quotations here, funny money. So that's academic scholarships, that's financial aid packages, that's cost of attendance now, and even it's what's happening this year is Alston money. So the Supreme Court Alston case, which basically allowed schools to give athletes an extra $6,000 on top of that. So immediately all of the Power 5 schools just jump right in there and give, some of them give only scholarship athletes, some of them have given all athletes an extra $6,000. So immediately we're competing with that, which is sort of crazy money for us. So I'm not definitely complaining. I mean, we are very well looked after at Marshall. It was one of the reasons I chose this job 5 years ago was I felt like we had enough resources to make a big noise and to do some big things because we were fully funded with the 9.9, and obviously we've had the backing of previous athletic directors and the current athletic director and the whole community, and so I definitely don't think we are the have-nots in this scenario, but we're definitely sort of at the top of that mid-major level. But there are resources being pumped into programs that you'd sort of class as Power 5 schools. Everybody has their own, I guess their own paradigm to look at. So they've got, you've got academic, institutions that are harder to get into. You've got schools that offer more academic money, less academic money, more Alston money, more cost of attendance, less, in those categories. Some schools have, Virginia and some of the SEC schools, the private schools have great financial aid packages. So any kid under a certain, family income can go for free and could be a fantastic player. It doesn't cost a penny of the school scholarship. So you have all of these logistical challenges that you don't have in football and basketball, where it's essentially everybody's on a full ride anyway. And obviously football have their own problems. So I don't want to, get into that with, the NIL money and the sort of deals you have to be offering players or you have to be able to provide for players, or coaches aren't really supposed to be able to provide them, but the community around the university can provide NIL opportunities. And obviously they have their own problems. But for men's soccer, it's entirely sort of resource management and how far can you stretch your 9.9 with additional academic scholarships and financial aid packages and things like that to be able to get 16, 17, 18 top players competing on the field and able to help you. And, in 2021, when we did that, we were really dialed in. We had support through the COVID year from the university. We had, really set of good players. We obviously lost a player who left the roster early. And many teams did too, with, MLS kind of drafting in the middle of the year. Some players left school, so it kind of became a little bit more of an equal playing field that year, and that was one of the reasons that we were able to do so well. I mean, one of the many factors, but there are a ton of logistical challenges that go into it, and at the end of the day, I think Power 5 schools can throw a lot more money at the problem with funny money and the teams that are successful are able to harness that and have a good logistical base to build from. Then it comes down to coaching and culture and all of the great things about the sport that we love. But once you it's like the salary cap. When it's level, it's even. You kind of have a really great competition that comes down to coaching and culture building, and why Belichick was so successful in the NFL for so long, and teams are able, whereas soccer and on college sports are a little bit more like Major League Baseball, where you can kind of have the bigger salaries and bigger resources, and you tend to win.
Chris Grassie is with me.
There.
Hey, that was pretty good. And we still plenty of time in the show, so that was pretty good. Chris Grassie's my guest. I want to talk a little bit more about your situation with new athletic director, but I want to save that just for a moment because I really want to get into what we can expect tomorrow. Ohio State, we know the name. We just went over, Power 5 school versus Group of 5 school. But when we get down to this tomorrow, what can we see from the team itself? What are you expecting, and what are you looking to get out of this one tomorrow?
Well, for us, we're in the College Spring League, so there's a trophy to be won. We haven't won this trophy before, so I'm very interested and hopeful of winning it. I mean, it's probably my second priority right now with the team. The first being, winning a national championship in the fall. But this is something that we're treating very seriously, and we want to win it, and we're working very hard to win it. For us, it's we've lost since May last year, we've lost sort of 6 starters. So we have to replace that. We have to have guys step up. We have to be able to do some different things. So there's an opportunity to see, the next group of talented players at Marshall, take the field. And some of those guys are trying to earn their spot in the spring, before our recruits come in the fall. This spring is a great opportunity for them to step into a position and make it their own. They've got the jersey, so it's theirs to lose. And so we're seeing some pretty good things. We're going to experiment with, 1 or 2 different formations and shapes and patterns of play. I think it's with so many new players in, it's trying to develop that familiarity, that rhythm of play, trying to break down again what what everybody who from that national championship team, what they knew in their bones. You try and break it down and explain it again and build it from the ground up again. Some things we throw out, some things we change and tweak. And so I'm interested to see how it all kind of starts to fit together. Obviously, we played against Dayton. We played very well on the defensive side of the ball. I thought the guys were sort of magnificent in their defensive effort and shape and tactics. We need to improve on the other side of the ball in retaining possession. So I'm looking to see that. And Ohio State beat Louisville in their first game as well. So this is the 2 sort of top teams in the league right now in this mini sort of 4-team league. So this is really whoever wins this is going to be in the driver's seat for being top of the group and playing in that final. So it's kind of a big game, and we know Ohio State will be it'll be tough and they'll be well organized. So it'll be interesting to see what we can do against that on our home pitch.
And the great thing about this is we get to do this again next year, next year, next year, and next year. So I think really that's the exciting thing about that, as you mentioned. This is something that we get here in these spring months, and you're playing for a trophy. Everybody wants to play for a trophy. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, that's one of the philosophies of our program is if there's a trophy, we've got to try our best to win it. We shoot for excellence, right? So if it's a trophy to be an academic All-American or to win an academic award, or if it's Player of the Year, All-American, National Championship, conference trophies. Like we want to win them all. That's why we're here. That's the philosophy of the program, is to be excellent, to shoot for that, to aspire to that. So there's an opportunity. There's a trophy on the line. We have to go and try our hardest to win it. So hopefully we can live up to that.
Chris Grassie's with me. Marshall's taking on Ohio State now. Is this going to be a regular format? Is there going to be anything maybe different from what we usually see during a match?
No, it'll be college rules. The only thing that's different is if there is a tie, we will go immediately to penalty kicks. So just to separate the winner, so you get 1 point for the tie, and then whoever wins the penalty kick will get the extra point to make it 2 points to try and make to try and differentiate the teams, and so we don't have as much chance of having a 3-way tie or a 2-way tie for the top spot, since we only have 3 group games.
Chris Grassie's with me. So that's coming up, and of course there's other matches that are coming up as well, so this is going to be really fun. And then once this is done, we can start thinking about your new home in the Sun Belt. It is official now, so everything can start being put together. What can you tell us so far about what the shape of the league's going to look like? Are you anywhere close to that yet?
Yeah. So we are going to have one of the best, most competitive, high-end leagues in the country. We're very, very excited about it. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes. So it's ourselves, ODU, obviously moving across, JMU joining, Coastal Carolina, which I think every year but last year they've been, for the last sort of 20 years, they've been in the NCAA tournament. They're a very good team. Georgia State, last few years, they've been in the NCAA tournament, very good team. And then we're going to add University of Kentucky, West Virginia, South Carolina are all coming with us across to the conference, and then hopefully we can add UCF in 23, which is still sort of unconfirmed. I'm not sure what they're doing, so I'm speaking out of school a little bit, but that's the idea, is to have the 4 remaining Power 5 schools who don't have a conference play in our conference. And we've kind of, as we put our heads together, it's like, how can we make this a top 3 power soccer conference in the country, and I think we've been able to do that now, so it's going to be exciting.
So make sure I got this right. UK, West Virginia, South Carolina, all joining you. UCF possibly in 2023, and we'll put tentative in there. Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion. Did you say Southern Miss, right? Southern Miss?
No, Southern Miss don't have a men's
Okay, so
team.
they're not forming one yet, or do you know if they're maybe looking into it?
I don't know if they're looking into it, and they have other schools, obviously in the Sun Belt that don't have men's soccer. So, I mean, obviously I would encourage, I'm a big fan of men's soccer, I would encourage any AD in the Sun Belt to start a program, because, you're going to be joining one of the best conferences in the country immediately. You sort of, no, it's not the Power 5 for football, but it's definitely sort of the top 3 in men's soccer. So it would be a prestigious ad in that sport if they were to start a men's soccer program. James Madison is the other one. JMU is the other school, and they've been very good over the last few years in the Colonial.
Sounds like it's going to be fun. I can't wait. This sounds like it's going to be really exciting. And now that we've got this put to rest, and you can move forward after you win the trophy, you beat Ohio State, move on, win the trophy here. I'm planning your week and your month for you here. Now,
appreciate it.
I'm sure you've had several conversations with new Marshall Athletic Director Christian Spears. He's talked about with me a couple of times his when this happens, winning can happen. He really hasn't outlined too much about what maybe he's talked about with you. Is there anything you can share that is on your high priority list to try to get done? I know we've talked about a grass field before, so I'm sure that's on your list. But are there some things that maybe you've got some good ideas about how you can improve soccer, seating capacity, anything like that?
Yeah, and I think the first thing, we've had some good conversations, and spent a couple of hours talking to him, which is great, and then he came right back the next day to kind of follow up on a few issues, which has been amazing. I've really felt sort of his value of the men's soccer program, and I'm sure he's making everybody feel that way. But I really did feel like he had a vision and a plan and a place for us, and wants to support us to continue to try and compete and win national championships. I definitely got that impression as we talked. As when I said, well, we've won, so we're kind of good, but my big fear right now, as I mentioned earlier, is sort of in recruiting is the Alston money, because that's just, cash that people can throw on top of an offer. So if all things being equal, they have a bigger sort of pot, chips to push into the table, which, sometimes, well, that'll make it difficult to recruit. That's my big fear right now. So I'd like to see us do something on Alston money and maybe increase that cost of attendance a little bit, because those are the sort of the teams that we're competing against, for the recruits that we're competing against all over the globe now. And the world just keeps getting smaller and smaller, and you see, and, different coaches, places I used to be by myself, and now there's 4, 5, 6 coaches, and the smaller showcases that, used to have 10 coaches at now have 70, 80 coaches at. So it's definitely getting smaller, the world. So that Alston money for me would be the sort of the top priority, just from a recruiting standpoint. From a facility standpoint, grass field would be amazing to get there, to get a grass practice pitch, obviously, because you just tear up a grass game field if we were training on it every day. We have a lot of fans. We have fans who stand around the field, who stand at field level, stand on the grass every day, and it would be nice to have a facility that encompass them. What I've said is my dream would be a facility that could host 5,000 people that when we play WVU, but would feel full with 2,000 people. So we kind of need to extend our hospitality to our fans, and we've had some amazing fans, and we keep getting more fans, and we want to make sure they have a fun environment. And we sell beer down here now, which is fantastic for the atmosphere and making it a more fun event. And I think if we just can continue to enhance our hospitality with a new stadium or a new stand on the far side of the field, and then eventually get to a grass pitch would be amazing. And I think, for our student athletes, if we can get them Alston money, that sort of stuff would help make it a better experience for them. But I think if we can sort of increase our facilities here at the vet at Hoops Family Field, where we could have, a weight room for the players, and we can have a video room for the players, and that sort of stuff, so they can just increase their experience or make their experience better, and make us teaching the game easier, and kind of put them in situations where they can, sit in a video room comfortably and watch video, because we do so much video now these days. Those sort of things would be super helpful. So that was kind of on my list, and I don't think it's anything that's a bridge too far. Obviously a lot of it, I think everybody's, if you give everybody a blank check, they would definitely be able to, increase their program and increase their capacity a little bit, and we would like the same. But we're definitely not complaining. We're definitely not feeling like we're hard done by or anything, because we've had enough support to obviously go out and win it. So we just want to tweak a few things here and there, and increase the experience for our student athletes, and increase our hospitality for our fans.
Luxury boxes. I didn't hear you say luxury boxes.
Oh, hey, I think 3 or 4 luxury boxes would sell like hotcakes, to be honest, but that's just me.
And large scoreboard. He was talking about he wants a huge scoreboard for football. I mean, I'm thinking what's good for football is good for soccer. I'm just saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think, scoreboard, a video board would be amazing, so we could use it to instantly hook up our speedo cameras. We have these cameras around the field that, we use for teaching. We could instantly stop training, put it up on the scoreboard and teach them, and you've kind of got that instant correction moment, or that teaching moment becomes so much more viable to the players and to their understanding. That would from a teacher's aspect, from a coach's aspect, that would be amazing. And obviously the fan experience, to be able to see replays and to be able to see the game up there on the TV would just increase their experience at the game.
Joining us on the program, the head coach of the Marshall soccer team, Chris Grassie. I'm looking forward to this conference. Now, yeah, is this a good number? I know I was mentioning some teams that, because Sunbelt had hit soccer before on the men's side, and, teams moving on, teams, being associate members. Is this a pretty good number, you think, for a league, for the league so far, to be a top-tier league and still be competitive?
With 9 teams, yeah, I think 9 or 10 teams is perfect. It just depends on what really makes a strong league, with the way the RPI works. And I'm sure you're familiar with that, with the 25% for your record, 50% for your opponents, and then 25% for your opponent's opponents. With the way the RPI works, it's better to have less teams sort of lower than just a few like really top teams. So if you can have all your teams above 100, let's say, it becomes this virtuous cycle where you're all feeding off each other and all getting better and better. So I think that's kind of where we're at. Over the last 4 years, we've kind of averaged one team below 100, and I think that actually would change when you do the math and you kind of geek out and break down the numbers. If that team that's below 100 is playing in our league, they're no longer below 100, and so we can continually have 9 teams in the top 100 teams that will kind of push everybody up further towards the top. And so I think 9 or 10 would be great numbers. If you get bigger than that, like the conference we're chasing, obviously the ACC, it's very good in men's soccer and has a good history, and Clemson, the current champions, are from that conference, and very, very well-funded group. But I think they have 14 or 16 teams in men's soccer, and they break it down into 2 divisions, and they've figured out a way to maximize their RPI, and I think we would have to do the same if we got bigger. But I think for a bare minimum, 9 teams with 8 games plus the conference tournament is, I think that's a great number.
Chris Grassie, my guest. It's been fun. We'll get you back in here soon to talk over it again. I'm looking forward to when the release goes out. We can really officially say, hey, here's what soccer looks like in the Sun Belt, and we get everybody excited. Now, I know it's going to be different for the women's side, but it sounds like on the men's side, it's going to be really exciting for this league to reform soccer and really go after it and be one of the top leagues right starting. I mean, you're hitting the ground running, one of the top soccer leagues. And it's not even official yet, right? I mean, they haven't even sent a press release. And it's the top league.
That's right. And we're pretty excited about it.
Good talking to you again. We'll do it again soon. I'll try to make sure Ryan Sirk's not here. He's had to sing for me a couple of times. I just want to let you know that. He's learned his lesson, but I appreciate you teaching me that discipline technique to make him sing when he's late.
Yeah, his favorites. He always sings Disney show tunes, so you just got to be careful with that.
He sang Lion King for me the last time it was late. He hasn't been late since.
Sounds like Cirque.
Good talking to you. Have fun on Saturday. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Chris Grassie, Herd's taking on Ohio State. We'll get your phone calls in, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Our text line is open for you as well. You want to be a part of that, it's 304-523-2275. More coming up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank, the local bank that's here for every step of your life's journey. Member FDIC.
Welcome back. Paul Swann, your host for this Friday edition. Hope you're enjoying your kickoff to the weekend. We're going to get you set now with some Marshall football on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to also give you an opportunity to be a part of the program. Our text line is open, 304-523-2275, 304-523-2275. Now, if you can't do that, you're listening to us on the podcast, and thank you. However you're listening, if you're listening on the podcast and you can't text because, well, I'm not going to be here to read it, you can tweet at me at Paul Swann, That would be something to keep an eye on because I retweet things sometimes, I find out things sometimes, and you know what? You've got an opportunity to figure out what we're doing. Like, for example, I just retweeted and put out there that Ashley Tudor, the ink is dry as we speak. So Ashley Tudor is now a member of the Thundering Herd. And earlier today, we were talking about Savannah Wheeler on Twitter. So, some of you kind of shaking your head a little bit about that. She's going to Middle Tennessee. She was sporting the Middle Tennessee gear and staying in Conference USA. So was it a better opportunity, a better fit for her? You wanted to maybe branch out a little bit. Does Middle Tennessee offer something that Marshall doesn't? Just wanted to change a venue? Is there some name, image, and likening opportunities out there for Savannah Wheeler if she is in a different color uniform? She's in a different venue. I mean, what's going through her head? So some of you were kind of speculating on that. And again, sometimes people, and this is a general comment, sometimes people get good advice and sometimes people get bad advice. And sometimes the people giving you the good advice or the bad advice are related to you. So you're getting advice from friends, family, not necessarily because it's advice, it's good, and not necessarily is it bad. So I don't know if you just wake up and go, you know what, I think I'm going to go get some NIL money. Maybe you do. I don't know. Or, hey, I think this is going to be a better opportunity for me. I need more playing time. I'm getting it here. There's a vast ocean of reasons we could talk about. But ultimately, whatever the student athlete decides makes them happy, makes that person happy, we're here for it. But again, as we mentioned, it is official. Marshall University putting it out on the women's team. Ashley Tudor, she is now signed with the Herd, and we'll have more about her and what's happening with Marshall women's basketball next week, as we'll definitely get Coach Kemper back on the program. Let's talk a little football. Of course, spring practice, that's going to be happening for the next few weeks, and we'll wrap it all up with the spring game. And one position I think that we're all excited about trying to see how the Herd can improve is defense. And I had a chance to speak with Lance Guidry. He talked a little bit when we talked to him about what he is most excited for with a new group of people.
Start with the coaching staff. Coach Jackson, of course, he played at LSU. He's an Alabama guy from Mobile. I watched him play. Really admired the way he played. He was an overachiever, really good player at LSU, won a national championship, and then, of course, played in the NFL. And then he's been coaching at Kansas and different places. So he brought in some new ideas in the secondary, which I'm excited about. And you always got to learn, no matter how long you've been doing it, you open up your brain to new ideas. So I'm excited to have him here. But Coach Street still with us with the defensive line, and Coach Morrison, which is Marshall guys. So we're excited with that. As far as the players go, we got a couple new safeties in. Andre Sam from my alma mater, McNeese State. He was all-conference player there. And then Isaiah Norman, a really good player, can play corner, can play safety. So I'm excited about those two guys, and we've got some guys up front. It's going to add some depth. So it's going to be very, very it's going to be very interesting this spring up front, especially. We need some guys to step up, and they got some other guys that may take their spots. So it's going to be a lot of competition.
That's what we like to hear, a lot of competition out there. Now, one player that was of interest to those in attendance was Stephen Gilmore. Here's Coach's thoughts on him.
Just working on the little things. He's always kind of got a magnet on his chest for the football, especially at practice. He makes a bunch of turnovers, but just getting his eyes in the right spot and just the technical things. And so we've been doing a lot of cut-up films of college guys, NFL guys, bring up his brother a lot of times and watch the way that he played things. And so Coach is doing a great job with him, and there's an automatic respect when Coach Jackson's talking because they know he's been where they want to be. So it's been a really good learning thing for Steven. So.
Now I was curious, on the offensive side of the ball, you've got a young room of quarterbacks. You don't have a veteran in that room just yet. You have youth. You have inexperience as far as being a college quarterback. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, you've got a little bit more leadership in some key positions. And I asked Coach about this. How do you feel about the leadership in your room? And he talked about some of the guys that he's looking at as far as where that leadership's coming from.
Eli Neal is going to be a big leader for us this year. He started to be last year, but anytime you have guys that are new or guys that have their first time starting or getting a lot of snaps, sometimes they're kind of on shaky ground a little bit, especially with some older guys. Don't know if they can really voice their opinion as much. But now these guys in year two and some guys have been starting for a while, you can see them starting to do that. I think Abraham will be a guy in the secondary along with Gilmore. They'll provide some leadership. And up front, I think Legs will do it. Legs, of course, transferred into us from Austin P last year. He's doing a good job of leadership right now. So I'm excited with the guys we have.
Yeah, it should be. Year 2 of the Charles Huff era of Marshall football. A lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement here. Now, you're also going into the Sun Belt, so you got to get ready for a new league. So you've got year 2, which really feels like year 1 plus, only because you get a fully first taste of what maybe a recruiting class under Coach Huff and his staff looks like. So you get to see that. The cupboard wasn't bare last season, but now you're stocking it up. You're putting into place things that you hope will grow and be fruitful for you. And you're going into a new league. So everybody's new. Everybody's new. You don't know really. And I think it's fair to say, because when you talk to Coach Huff, it's fair to say that we're not going to see the Thundering Herd team that we saw last season ever again, because that team doesn't exist anymore. It's not the same team coming up. So it doesn't matter. I mean, now there's similar programs, programs depending on, what kind of consistency those programs have. I mean, you're going up against programs, but as far as the teams are concerned, it's going to be completely different year to year. But so you got to balance that out a little bit. Okay, this is what this program does, but the personnel might change. At the same time, you look at now you're going into the Sun Belt. How drastic of a change is this going to be? What kind of offenses are you going to see? I mean, are we going to see some wishbones here? What are we going to see? Are we going to see the wing T? What are we going to see here? Student body right? What are we going to see here? Are we going to see West Coast offense? I mean, we're going to see the Wildcat. What are we going to see here? We're going to see, I don't know. Yeah, is it going to be run, pass? What are we going to see here? Well, Lance talked about what we're going to see, just getting ready for the Sun Belt offenses. He was asked, is there really any blueprint to get ready for these Sun Belt offenses? And, the way he talked about it, football's football, right? Here's how he broke it down.
Not really. It's all about the same. You might have a little bit more athletic quarterbacks like you saw with the UL kids. So you'll have some guys that can run the football. Of course, Georgia Southern was option offense. They'll be changing, but you'll see some athletes on the outside. So the speed may be a little bit different. Might have some more teams with a little bit speed, but I think the size will be very comparable. But it's going to be like playing a UAB or Western Kentucky every week. I mean, you're going to have to strap it up and get ready to play. But, I mean, these guys played really well. You take away the Western Kentucky second half, we've been in every game and really had a chance to win every game we've been in. We just wasn't there yet. I don't think we played complementary football all the time. We had third quarters where we did a lot of good things on defense, but maybe we didn't score enough, or sometimes we were up on offense in the fourth quarter and we didn't hold up, our end in the fourth quarter. So just playing better complementary football, but I think we're a lot closer right now than we were a year ago.
We're listening to comments from Marshall defensive coordinator and safeties coach Lance Guidry. And finally, he mentioned Eli Neal earlier in some of his comments. He talked a little bit more specifically about Eli Neal, also talked a little bit more about those linebackers of his.
Well, he's voicing his opinion a little bit more, but I told him whenever you talk, you got to be ready to take it back. They may give it back to you. So you got to be example all the time. So if you're going to go out and be a leader, you got to walk the walk. And you got to talk the talk. You're going to walk the walk. So that's his biggest thing, is what he preaches he has to do as well. But you could see it through the course of the year, him doing that. Of course, early on in the Navy game, he had a bunch of sacks. And so from a playing aspect, he did that. But now he's starting to be really a team leader. But I think Bo Plan will also as well. So we feel like we got him and also Charlie Gray. We got 3 really good linebackers in there that's kind of got to be the meat of the team on defense. So sad.
All right, meaty team, meat of the team. It should be a interesting next few weeks. Of course, we'll see the spring game, hopefully at Jones C. Edwards Stadium, and hopefully everyone will get a good look at what the Thundering Herd looks like, as this will catapult everything into the upcoming season. Quick timeout, and we'll wrap it up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
It's our final segment of this edition of The Drive for Friday, April 1st. Don't forget, I know it's a busy weekend for you. A lot of opportunities for you to go out and support the Herd. If you're going to be out and about, you can't maybe get your TV. We've got you covered. Final Four is coming up this weekend. It'll be right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And then we'll have the national championship on Monday. So we've got all the games on Saturday, and we've got you covered for the championship as well. So you know what? Go outside. Take a radio with you. Enjoy your day on Saturday. Take a radio with you. You know what? Go have that drive. Roll the windows down. Enjoy the weather. Hopefully it's going to be good. Enjoy it. Have your radio on. Go buy a portable radio. Go hang out. Maybe take a nice little stroll down the road here. You can listen to it on your radio. You can go to the riverfront. Maybe you can listen to the games. I mean, wherever you go. Or if you gotta make a quick run to I don't know. You gotta make a quick run to Roosters or something. We'll have the games for you on the radio. You won't miss a thing. So that's coming up on Saturday, and then again we'll have the championship on Monday. And then right after that, we finally get to talk baseball. We get to talk about baseball. Thundering Herd baseball, by the way, on the road this weekend. Keep an eye on herdzone.com and, of course, the Thundering Herd social media accounts for score updates there. As the Thundering Herd would like to get some wins in Conference USA, try to bounce back from the loss the other day against West Virginia. That's going to do it for this edition. Back on Monday. Programming note, we're here in studio. Our summer-spring hiatus begins from the Union Pub and Grill. So we're going to miss Herb. We're going to miss Herb and the gang for a while. We'll be back soon, but back here on Monday in studio. So looking forward to that. Of course, we'll get your phone calls and text in on Monday. And if you missed the opportunity to talk to me earlier, you want to try to reach out to me on Twitter at Paul Swann. And that's going to do it for this edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W231BS Huntington, broadcasting from the Oscars Breakfast Burgers and Brew Studios. This is ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.